Good morning, Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dr. James Gilmore, and you are listening to What's Going On, where we talk about what's going on in our community, in our city, in our state, and the nation. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are live here at Southern Coffee. Southern Coffee, it's a great restaurant to come by and not only grab coffee, but you could also grab bagels and fruits and vegetables, and they have a great salad bar. So if you're ever in the Scotlandville area, come on over to Southern Coffee and support this local restaurant. It's a great atmosphere, and now we will be shooting live from Southern Coffee because it's a great place to be, and we're going to support our community. We're going to support this great area in Scotlandville, and so I'm excited that today we are here with our East Baton Rouge Parish School Superintendent, Dr. Sito Narcisse. Dr. Narcisse, welcome. There's a lot happening in our school system, and I don't have to tell you how valuable and important our children are to our community and to the future of our community. And I wanted you on this morning because I wanted to hear first what's going well in our community. I want to hear what's going well in our school system. I know oftentimes, the negative information makes the news, but there's a lot of great things happening. And so I want to kick this off on a positive note. Tell the listening audience what's been going great in our EBR school system.
Anytime we get an opportunity to talk about the great work we're doing in East Baton Rouge, I love talking about it.
Absolutely.
We're the second largest school district in the state of Louisiana, 41,000 plus kids, 6,000 teachers. And
wow.
I tell folks we have 41,000 reasons to try to get this right.
41,000 children.
That's right.
All right.
And but the big part I tell folks also is, we're a community within communities. East Baton Rouge has multiple different type of communities, whether you're in North Baton Rouge, Mid-City, South Baton Rouge. And so there's a lot of great things that happen in different sets of schools, but we also have a lot of work to do. And I tell folks that's a part of being a large school district. So let's talk about some good things that I don't think people talk about enough.
Yeah.
So number one, when we started off about 2 years ago in the work, we created what they call 6 keys. These are 6 things we said we're going to work on tremendously as we expand the school work in the system. Number 1 is expansion of early childhood education from 0 to 5. Number 2 is kindergarten readiness, getting kids to read at 3rd grade reading. 4th is middle and high school exposure to careers. And number 5 and 6 is what we call our Pathways to Bright Future work, where we're getting more kids to be in advanced courses, getting opportunity no matter what color you are, what part of the city you live in. So what we have done so far was, number 1, we have about almost 6,500 students in what we call our early childhood network. Those are where kids are getting into schools as early as possible. We've piloted this thing called a micro center where...
And is that what we call pre-K? Not pre-K.
Pre-K you have from ages like pre-K is ages 3 to 4, but
okay.
we've done something even more experimental, I tell folks, where we actually work with daycares, put them in elementary schools and say, let's work with you to try to help support kids reading even earlier than that. So by the time they get into pre-K and move up into kindergarten, they can read already.
Okay.
Right. And so we've done that expansion. We're about 6,500 plus seats. We've increased almost 1,000 plus more kids into that pipeline where we didn't have that pipeline to be that much moving forward. So we're excited.
So we have 1,000 more kids.
1,000 plus.
And why is that important?
Yeah, the reason why it's so important is because the goal is it's not that we want kids to start reading kindergarten. We want kids to start doing well in school at kindergarten. They have to start doing well from the time they're born, right? And what people don't see is you fall behind as early as the time you're born. If you're born and your parents are not reading to you, you're not being exposed to certain things, you're not doing those things, by the time you start school at that age, you are behind the 8 ball. And that becomes problematic. And so what happens, a child that has less resources, they keep moving up the pipeline, but they're not having the same type of access with kids who have access. It's not just only whether you're coming from a poor family. It could be a working class family. If you got two parents that work all the time, they're and nobody's helping the child to kind of learn how to read and
do
sight work. It's a problem. Yeah. So the goal has been to do that across the entire parish, to expand more early childhood centers, those things. And so we've been moving towards that and getting a lot of gain towards that. The second thing I tell folks that we're super excited right now, if you look at our reading performance, I know the Secretary of Education, Dr. Kay Blum, is talking about it. Our fourth graders, we have some of the highest growth in kids at the fourth grade level reading more than they've ever read before. When you look at East Baton Rouge Parish, we have kids reading 2 times more than they've ever been reading.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
So we've put a lot of investment in folks to do around literacy, to try to get kids reading, writing, mathematics, and so those pieces are moving forward.
So our kids in Baton Rouge are reading better.
They're much better than where we started from before. Okay. The other part we're excited about too is what we call, if you look at our high school work, in our high school work, when we started, we have a total of 10,000 high school kids from 9 to 12 all across the high schools across the city. Well, we only had 2,000 of those kids taking advanced courses. And advanced courses is whether college or an AP, dual enrollment, or industry-based certification. We pushed into Pathways of Bright Future work for that to start in the 9th grade, for kids to start doing that. Well,
why did you only have 2,000?
Well, 2,000.
10,000 students.
Yeah, so it's just, I always believe that the way systems happen are by design. So, for example, kids can come in. Some folks say, well, these kids can't do it, or they may have not done particularly well on a certain test, so people don't think that they have the aptitude to do it. So there's a lot of reasons why that happened. And so what we said wasn't that when you come into East Baton Rouge Parish in the 9th grade, we're going to require you from the 9th grade to take an advanced course. And advanced courses count as an AP.
Wasn't that a huge debate at one time?
Sometimes, I don't know if everybody's always exposed to it, and so that impacts their belief systems.
And your ability to be able to create the transformation you want.
That's correct, yeah. And when you talk about why adults think like that, you think and believe what you believe based on what your experience is, or what your exposure is. And, it
sounds like your experiences and exposures have been to, push students to their highest level.
Yeah.
Set high expectations and believe in them, and it's been working.
Yeah, it's been working, and I tell people I live in a city where 2 universities and a community college that produces folks believe in that too, right? So Absolutely. It's like, we produce a lot of students that are educated in the state of Louisiana. So why would the school system not have that belief system? Companies that want to give kids internships, and we started off piloting where kids would go and do internships at $15 an hour.
Oh, wow.
At companies. And
$15 an hour as a student intern in East Baton Rouge Parish.
Yes, $15 an hour, and they would get 155 hours that they would go work at the company, and they also would get some credit. They also work at the mayor's office for summer programs. We're super excited about that.
And why are these internships important?
Well, I grew up as a kid that did an internship in school, in high school. And that was a game changer in my life because, you learn one thing you learn at school, but hands-on is another. We have companies that have been very successful here in Baton Rouge. And I think that, us creating a pipeline for children to get those experiences help them at the next level in whatever they want to do, whether they want to come out of high school, go to work, or whether they want to go to college next. But those are the advantages that I think that help tremendously in closing that gap. And
what are some things you're working on now in the future? Because as you know, school safety has been a big topic in this community. Absolutely. And really across the nation. And many of the folks that I've run in contact with want to know what's the plan to make schools safe for everybody, not just parents, not just teachers, not just students, but it seems like, disruptive behavior has become a trend for whatever reason in our country. And maybe it's been there and just being recorded more right now and placed on social media. But is there any plan to help curb some of the disruptive behavior? Some use the term violence in our school system here.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is since children have come off of COVID and those things, schools have had tremendous amount of challenges. And it's not just East Baton Rouge, it's anywhere in the country. You pick a school district, there's different sets of challenges that you have. One of the work that we've done in the last board meeting that we had, we created a draft safety plan where we have said we're going to add more school resource officers in schools. We've been working through that. We have Captain Walker we hired from the sheriff's office to help with that. Dion Cheney he works there on the administrative side. And then the other part we talked about was like point of access, getting schools to have one point of access in schools. The other part is trying to make sure the external area, I mean, trying to make sure that we get, whether it's fences up or other barriers to help prevent people to come on campuses, and how we have protocols and security. So we've been trying to work through that. In this budget that's coming up, I'll be putting dollars towards increasing security, and also trying to make sure that we also take care of the facilities area around fencing and those things. The other part is trying to also work on training with our staff. When there's an intruder, when there's a problem, how do you manage that? And then the other part I tell folks is how you work with the students, right? Because that's another piece. When people talk about violence in schools, sometimes from on the student side, they're talking about either students that are fighting, or the other challenge we have is parents who come on the campus to fight other students, which is something that I told folks we cannot tolerate. Right? We've also talked with the mayor's office around how do we work closer with them in terms of going out into the community with their street teams. What are ways we can do that, and partnering with 100 Black Men and some of these other external partners to help us, because sometimes what people don't see is the problem starts out in the community and then comes into the school. It doesn't just start in the school all the time. And so trying to be proactive in those areas. And then also looking at technology that we can use that can help staff feel safe, community feel safe, and those pieces. So we've been trying to talk through that. It will be another decision point that's going to be coming very shortly. Those are the range of things that we're doing to make sure we can address that. And last, I'll say, working with the board on creating policy that can help enhance security as well, for whether it's for students or parents and teachers in the community.
Sounds as if you all have a pretty comprehensive plan in mind to implement. It's all about the details and the follow-up and the action, but it sounds as if you all are having good dialogue about what to do about school violence and disruptive behavior. Are you familiar with ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences?
Yes.
Since I was Governor John Bell Edwards' director of the Children's Cabinet in maybe 2010, I learned about ACEs, and no, not 2010, 2016. I learned about ACEs, and I actually approached the school system about integrating ACEs into our EBR school system, and maybe ensuring that every child was tested for ACEs to identify those things in their lives that might have caused trauma, so that you all know what you're dealing with in the classroom for students who have external issues. Is there a possibility that we as a school system can one day, or are we headed in that direction, that maybe integrating ACEs or something like ACEs to help us understand the trauma and things that youth may be dealing with outside of school that eventually ends up in school?
We're actually in the process of continuing to roll out this. Our strategy is called multi-tiered system supports. That work is led through the student support team, where schools will be seeing that much more, because we were building that plan last year. As we started to roll that out, our goal is to be moving towards that direction where we're starting to assess kids around the type of trauma they have. We're also trying to put kids, move more school-based clinics, which is really important for us. Right now we have about 7 of those in high schools where kids can go for any treatment or anything that they want. We want to try to get that across all middle schools and high schools.
Absolutely. That may help in cutting down on disruptive behavior.
Absolutely.
Identify any issues and try to provide those interventions.
And that also helps for us to work for them to do better in the classroom. I think one of the things I always noticed was, people believe that the teacher should be doing everything. And I tell folks the teacher, is a teacher, even though they play multiple roles in certain schools depending on the needs of children. But the reality is, the better we have those other systems, the better the more the teachers can focus on the teaching, right? And so we have a long way to go in that work, and we're sort of trying to make that progress.
Well, they're going to see some money.
Absolutely.
Every teacher I know is asking about pay raises. I'd even heard in upwards of 8%, and that would put us as the highest paid teachers in the state. which
Yeah.
would be a great thing to have because it'll allow us to be competitive.
Yeah.
What's happening with our teacher pay raises?
Yeah, so I'm working right now through the budget to be able to get us through the teacher fees. The 8% is not going to make us the highest paid, but it's going to put us in the direction of that.
Okay, gotcha.
I'd like for the school district to be the highest paid in the state of Louisiana, but that takes progress. Let's take time to be able to do that. So in this budget, there's going to be work towards getting teachers paid more. And I think it's really important that we get us there because we want to make sure we can retain folks.
May 18th is the budget proposal day.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're going to be bringing that to the public and to the board around the raises, so the teachers will see the raise in there. This is probably one of the few districts I've been in where I've seen where the parish pays less than its suburbs. I haven't really experienced that before, and so I think it's really important that we change that approach. And our people work tremendously hard too. So even in my State of the School address, I said last year, I told them we're going to raise salaries for folks in the system. Teachers, it's about time, and not because we should just be raising it, but they deserve it and they've earned it, right? And they have to take care of their families. My goal right now is to move us towards that 8%. That's the work we've been working on, and to have a proposal on that in that space. The other part I tell folks is really important that we as a community begin to think about teacher raises, because it's it's just not only the school system, but as a community, if we believe our teachers should be getting paid, we should be figuring out ways to generate more revenue to pay teachers, and it's just not only the burden on the district, right? So and there's a lot of ways to go about doing that, but we have to keep doing that if we want to retain folks.
What's going on with Capitol High School? I think Capitol Middle, someone asked. What are your thoughts about, because I even heard there was a number of around 100 million of your budget goes to charter schools, public charter schools where we have choice in this state, and the impact that has, and also could you update us on about Capitol High being brought back into the school district, and how's that going?
So let me start off with Capitol High first, and I'll work my way back. So Capitol High, actually, we're in the part right now of transitioning to take it over. We've just picked a great principal. So this fall, we'll be fully taking over Capitol. We're excited about. There's been a advisory group that, because it's a focused choice school, and focused choice means a school that works with an industry partner to help with workforce development and those things within the school. That partner is Baton Rouge General Hospital.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we work directly with the CEO, Elgardo Tenero, and their Baton Rouge General team that helps to advise the board with community partners, and then also have some of the alumni on that panel as well. The second question I think was around Capitol Elementary and Middle. We've been really working really hard at Capitol Elementary and Middle. We're going to be piloting a community schools model there. As you know, we have one school leader that helps to work on both of those campuses that we provided with extra. We're moving with extra staffing and those things, so we're excited about that, and also to learn on that with the community schools model. I know there's been people who've been pushing a lot for that, but it's we wanted to make sure we could pilot it and then see how that model continues to work across the system. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with Capitol Elementary and Middle. I tell their school leaders doing a tremendous job on trying to get that place working.
Are they located on the same campus?
No, they're actually two separate campuses.
But one school leader oversees both.
Yeah, one school leader with we have additional staffing for them in that way. And I think your third question was on
the impact the charter school system has on our school district, especially as it relates to funding.
Yeah,
because
so
it takes money to make all of this happen.
Yeah, our district is a district of choice. This is way before Sito Narcisse came here. So, and I tell folks too that all the schools, whether you are a traditional school, magnet school, or charter school, whatever your label is, you're still a part of the EBR school system. But yes, every time that we open up a charter or anything like that, those seats, it does have an impact on the budget. And so we've been trying to work through right now is around balancing our budget because of those things. And
I am a supporter of any school that is quality, be it charter or be it public. And but I do know it takes money and resources. And I've looked at the data We have a couple of charter schools here that are doing phenomenally well, and they are to be applauded. But I do worry about the system. And by the way, I worked for the governor at the time during the administration that created the Recovery School District and things after Katrina. I do worry, though, that whether the experiment or the charter school system is actually working for Baton Rouge as well as it should, and this is just my personal opinion. And if it's not, then you all are left. The public school system is left with transitioning them back in and having to, start all over again and build up. So that makes more work for you all. So I really hope that our elected officials really look at the effectiveness of our charter school system and how they are awarded and how they are funded, and make decisions for kids, not just for the sake of trying something new.
Yeah, so, when I got to Louisiana, this whole, you can only imagine, depending on what side you're on, whether you're charter, traditional, whatever, the fight that I went through. And I told folks, for me, what I care about is quality schools. I don't care what type of school you are, whether you are traditional or charter, whatever you fall into. The question is, as a city, we have to be able to say, listen, if you're not doing well, you're not doing well.
And we have to admit that.
And I think that the challenge that I've noticed is sometimes is depending on what side you're on, you're trying to defend that side.
Exactly.
And I don't think it's a matter of defending on a side. I think it's a matter of defending on quality of performance. If a school doesn't do well, whether they're traditional, charter, whatever the label is, we as a community have to say this doesn't work.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes is politically what bothers me the most. That conversation doesn't always happen because that conversation happens on, let me tell you why this versus why that. But it doesn't help me to say to a school, like, hey, your children are not reading at a certain level. They're not doing well in mathematics. I want to add too that I don't think is given enough credit is we're a gracious community with our nonprofit partners. We created the Baton Rouge Area Youth Network, where we have about 60 partners, whether they're from, YMCA's, Big Buddies, Humanities Amp, all these different groups. They have been working tremendously together to support schools regionally.
Good.
I know they don't get enough credit for the work that they have done, but that has had such an impact on helping our kids to accelerate in a lot of different ways. So this summer we will be expanding summer camps from 8 a.m. to about 12 p.m. and then there'll be afternoon camps where parents can go from 12:30 to almost 5:30, 6 p.m. So kids will be busy all summer.
Very good.
doing work, and we're really excited about that.
And is that an option that parents must call and sign up?
So there's a whole process on it. They could sign up in their schools. They could sign up. We have our website. There's a lot of different ways for them to sign up for it. It's just a matter of you wanting to be there, and then you're going to be there. I also think it helps with keeping kids off the streets. I tell folks because kids are busy all day.
Absolutely.
So we're super excited.
We need to have them in.
We're super excited about that.
And I don't know how much you can talk about this, and this will be my last question, but you are exploring partnerships with Apple, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And what are some things you all are looking at doing with Apple?
Yeah, super excited about that. Ourselves and multiple partners in the city, from the mayor, Southern University, LSU, the CHEM, BRCC, community partners like yourself. There are areas that we're trying to make sure we grow. One is we want to do more community labs within across the city. Community labs is where you have the entire community can come to a lab to learn not only their child but also their parents. Mr. Superintendent,
I think you've done well just for 2 years. Feels like you've been here longer.
Well, we got about 2+ years now.
You've accomplished great things, but I like the fact that you've acknowledged that there's still a lot of more work to go to get us where we need to be. I like the way that this board, and I've told board members this already, this mostly newly appointed board that you have, elected board that you have, I like their chemistry and I like their work ethic and their concern and care for one another's district. So, and it seems to be harmony also with you, and so it's a great look of unity for our community. So I want to thank you for your leadership as well as your school board members. And thank you for coming on this show today. to be a part of my first podcast here. Let folks know, when are your school board meetings, because one thing that I've learned over the years is, engagement. Civic engagement is very important. You can't just complain on social media. You got to attend the school meetings. You got to attend the parent meetings. You got to get engaged in your child's school. When are the school board meetings? What time are they? And you may even have them online. When can folks watch and learn all of these great things that you've told me today, as well as get engaged in?
Yeah, so school board meetings are usually the first and third, the first and third of every month.
Okay.
On a Thursday.
So first and third Thursday of every month.
Yes, correct. Okay. So you'll see that on there. If you go to our website, www.ebrschools.org, you can put in search board meetings. There's also a tab that says board meetings. You can click on that. That gives you the information. And if you can't get to board meeting, we live stream everything too.
Very
through
good.
YouTube. So
good on YouTube.
Yep. And we added sign language as well. So if if you speak sign language, there's a lot of upgrades we've done. Excuse me, in the last 2 years around that. And so the big question has been just elementary sports we did not have. This Saturday, I was just at Struma High School where they had the track and field events, and we actually had something with middle schools this week. We have thousands of families now that are in elementary sports. I don't know if you're aware, but elementary sports, in order to be in elementary sports before I arrived, you had to go to pay for it at BREC or something like that. Now it's a part of your school system.
Good.
So it was just free.
Elementary sports.
That's right.
Very good.
It was beautiful to see.
And hopefully that'll help our decrease our obesity rate and some of our health disparities.
Absolutely.
Because our young people will get engaged early in physical activity.
That's right. It's the whole child. So it's
well. Again, Mr. Superintendent, thank you for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, those who are viewing on social media. Please share this on your social media page so folks can learn a lot about the great things that are happening here in our school system, but also how we're working to overcome some of the challenges that we're having. This show will also be replayed this Thursday on 106.1 FM. I want to give a quick shout out to Eugene Collins. Yes, Eugene Collins is the reason that I'm in this setup. Brother Eugene, thank you so much for all the mic tests and for setting up everything to make this podcast, to make this show happen. And so everyone have a great rest of your week. May God bless you, and keep the faith.